Hello everyone, welcome back to the Nourish by Claudia channel. I am hyper excited because today I'm sharing the space with my favorite human, which is also an incredible podcaster, a mindset coach, a personal trainer, my honestly favorite buddy, and my HA everything, and also the mindset coach of the Restore the Hormones community. So she's just my amazing human. Hello, Jade. How are you?
Hello, fellow amazing human. I'm not sure what to say after an intro like that, but thank you very much. And I'm happy to be here.
I am so happy that we are sharing this space today because it's going to be such a nice chat. We are going to be talking about wonky periods, meaning irregular periods, missing periods, with HA, after hypothalamic amenorrhea, after breastfeeding and pregnancy, during breastfeeding and postpartum. And we're also going to share our experiences with wonky periods. So, where can we get started? First of all, tell us, because Jade, you went through hypothalamic amenorrhea, then you managed to have your first baby, you got your period back, you had your second wonderful baby, you managed to get the period back. And how has your life been since having your second child in terms of your hormones? How have you been feeling in terms of how is your body responding? How is it for you to go back to training, food choices? Just give us an insight of how your life has been for the past 6 months.
Oh, where to begin? Well, baby one versus baby two was
Mhm.
very different on the recovery front and training front. So, SEMA, I think, still stuck in the train as much as you can to burn the weight off.
Mhm.
We recover from HA so fast and we kind of got our training wheels and it's easy for them to fall off. So even though I was eating enough, my training was more burn focused. And even though it was fine, I stopped breastfeeding and I mean, completely stopped. So I never had a cycle, even when I was only breastfeeding once or twice a day. When I completely weaned, 4 weeks later, I got my period back after Casima and completely over the moon. It was like I recovered from HA again. It was amazing. My training was a lot more intense because I had that burn mentality and my body fat was a lot higher after baby number one. Um, Cycles for the most part 30 to 35 days. I track my cycle with my training. I found the consistency tended to be if I increased my cardio, my cycle would extend out to 35 to 37. If I was doing less cardio, it'd be
Interesting.
more 30.
Mm.
But because I was tracking everything, and I'm talking like basic spreadsheet notes on my phone, nothing crazy, I could very easily not be fearful if my cycle extended. Because I go, well, I'm actually trying to lose a bit of body fat and my training changed. So that's happened. I've eased off my training. uh, Leading into falling pregnant with Ruben, I knew I wanted to fall pregnant. So I removed cardio and I wasn't doing much. I was just doing it for fun because I enjoy it. But I know that my cycle extends about 5 days when I'm doing cardio. So I took the cardio out. Cycle went back to 30 days. I mean, I had a chemical pregnancy first up. The second month, I just didn't want to try because I had some
Mm.
leftover emotions from the chemical. And then the next time around, fell pregnant and I've got beautiful baby Ruben. Um, Breastfed Ruben for 12 months. That was only, end of December. And I was a lot leaner after this baby. So I'm only a couple of kilos off my HA weight, right? Um, I love my food. I love my training. Mentally, I'm in a very good place. It took 6 weeks to get my period back after stopping Ruben. So only a 2 week difference. Very different body, very different training. So I'm only training 4 times a week, very strength focused. I don't do any cardio. I walk. I'll do cardio later when I feel like it. Um, and for the most part, my period was a 30-day and then it was a 52-day, which is why we come to the wonky period talk because it was very easy for part of me to go, I'm in HA territory. And then I put the brakes on and did an audit and realized that I had incredibly disrupted sleep for that time. Kasima was having a difficult time transitioning to school, and both of our emotions were a 10 out of 10. And two of my triggers outside of training is just emotional stress. So I realized that and I thought, hold on, don't change a thing, hold steady. And I ovulated a week later and I got my period. Easy peasy.
Can we take a break now? Because you said something that is so mind-blowing and very powerful and needs to be heard. So you are currently, you said, a couple of kilos away from your HA weight, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And there is this narrative out there that you need to gain a lot, that you need to stop training completely, that you need to eat junk food, otherwise your period is not going to come back. And I am sick of tired of people being afraid of recovering their cycle because they have this worst case scenario in their head. I'm going to gain so much weight and I'm going to hate myself. I'm not going to be able to exercise. I'm not going to be able to take care of my anxiety, of my mental health because I'm not allowed to go for a walk. I will have to eat all the foods that I'm so incredibly afraid of eating just to get my period back. So what's the point? Right? Sometimes for some women, the question is, what's the point? If I have to suffer that much, I might as well procrastinate. I might as well do it later when I have no choice. And that's also one of the reasons because so many women decide to shortcut it. Well, shortcut it is not the right sentence, but they decide to opt for medications, HRT or IVF, because they think that it's gonna be too hard for them to even try to get the period back. And here you are, 2 kilos away from HA after giving birth to two amazing kids. Stopped breastfeeding just recently, and yeah, you had a hiccup in terms of your last period, but
Yeah.
you did a quick audit and managed to get it back. But otherwise, you also have regular periods, and
Yeah.
it's a very powerful message to send out there because once again, it's so easy to look at someone else's body and judge it from the outside and start thinking and start labeling women and thinking, oh, this woman must have their period because she looks this way. This woman, instead, she's not going to have a period because she looks this way. Whereas the reality is, it's completely different. What's your take on this, Jade?
Well, just in case anyone's out there doing the math, because I stopped breastfeeding Ruben, because you said, have they been consistent? And it's still early days. So I got it back 6 weeks after I stopped breastfeeding, give or take a few days. And then I had the wonky one.
Yeah.
And now I'm on day 15 and I'm in that ovulation window.
Yeah.
So I'm on track for a perfect 30-day.
Thank you for clarifying
for
that.
me. Yeah, just because I'm like, I know there's someone out there going, but you only got it back.
Spreadsheet in hand. Like, no, 6 weeks, that doesn't count.
It's like I literally just ovulated. I can we're good.
Thank
We're
you
on
for
track.
sharing
It's happening.
that.
Just in case. Safe, right? And like you can probably tell by my face, I'm not worried. I wasn't worried about the wonky one. I was just like, oh, what's my body trying to tell me? To add some layers to what you just discussed with the HA recovery space, and something we've always been passionate about, but I guess on a personal front, we've been fearful about sharing our opinion because we prioritize health and recovery, but we're also in a position where we know women can enjoy their physique and their exercise and get their period back. And we can do it in a sustainable way that fits people's health values that many of other coaches just do not preach. And there is a bit of a back and forth on how that can sit with people. In regards to 2 kilos off my HA weight, the other thing to consider, which, oh my gosh, 10 years ago, I never would have believed this in a heartbeat. So my physique is somewhat similar to what it was. But back then, I was training 2 to 3 hours a day. I was eating next to nothing. I was on my feet all day long as a personal trainer in the gym. And now I strength train 4 times a week. Sometimes it's 3, sometimes it's 5, because kids, life. For the most part, I get 10,000 steps in. Sometimes it goes up to 15 or 20. And the only time it hits 20 is if I go for a walk. The 10,000 is just chasing after the kids. Nothing's deliberate, intentional. And I've got a similar body. I'm doing a fraction of the exercise. I'm eating double, possibly triple the amount of food. And my body's happy. It's thriving. But I never would have believed that was possible back when I had HA.
It's interesting that you're sharing that because I've been inundated. I'm seriously inundated by questions over the past few months in terms of having a period or not. Because I have a very slim body. I've always had a slim
Mm.
body. And even though it is very true that my body has not changed much since my HA days, the reality is that, very similar to your story, my food intake has completely changed, definitely double. I wouldn't say triple at this point, but definitely double. I'm sleeping much better and I'm training way less. And I've been able to grow muscles without losing the extra weight. And I'm not doing cardio. Cardio doesn't fit my body type. I'm already enough edgy as I am as a person. So I have enough of a type A personality. So cardio doesn't go hand in hand with my mental health more than anything, and also my physical health. But it's interesting how you can actually, we have been able to get to this point where we are in a body that feels comfortable, that we enjoy, and that is not difficult to maintain.
No, it's effortless. And if I was to take a month off training, not much would change.
Okay, tell me more about that.
Well, I took a month off in December because I had a
Oh,
compressed
you
nerve
had
in
the
my neck.
injury, yeah.
Yeah, I took a month off. And part of me was like, all right, we're going to see some changes here. Be cool.
Yeah.
You know, what are you going to do? And I actually dropped weight. I was even leaner than what I am now. I was pretty much my HA body. And that was actually when I got my first period back. Go figure.
And I
But just
had,
that narrative or the storyline that it has to be one particular way, it's actually not the particular way. And it's the cookie cutter approach to go eat
yeah,
more, train less. It's
yeah.
the easiest way to get it back. It is. And if
Is
you
it
want to get it
sustainable
back
though?
tomorrow, okay, it's a path you could take. But if you want to get to know your body, there is a much better way to do it. And you've
Yeah,
even witnessed that yourself. I mean, we've had some of my wonkiness. I know you've shared with me some wonkiness before when you
yeah,
travel. Could
absolutely.
you share your travel wonkiness?
100%. I'm about to. But I also would like to say that when you just focus on eating more and training less, you're not actually taking into consideration all the other things that comes to play
So many
when we need
variables.
to restore the hormones. What about your thyroid? What about your overall well-being? What about your sleep? What about your stress? And also, it's not about getting the period, but it's also being in a body that you enjoy being in. But
It's very stressful being in a body that doesn't feel like your own.
yeah,
And how many conversations have we had with women where they're like, and I personally have experienced this. If you look at my recovery body, don't get me wrong, bless it, it was the body I had to experience. There were so many lessons in me being that shape and size. It had to happen, and I'm so glad it did. However, I understand that feeling of looking in your reflection because you said your physique stayed somewhat similar. Mine did not. And it is a very uncomfortable to the point your emotions almost hurt when you look at your reflection and you're like, that can't be me. That's not me.
mind you, it stays somewhat similar, but having said that, the discomfort was definitely there because
Mm,
even though the weight changed only by, let's say, a few kilos, there were parts of me that I didn't recognize. There were parts of me that whenever I sat, they would just remind me, you are going through the
triggers.
recovery journey, and it was very, very triggering. And that's also another reminder. It doesn't matter if you have to add only 6 kilos or if you have to gain 20 kilos, you're still gonna go through an initial discomfort. We're not saying that you can get the period back doing whatever you want. That's
Mm.
absolutely not what we're getting
Change
to.
change has to happen, and
Change
change
has to happen.
is uncomfortable, but it doesn't have to be what I guess the masses are saying.
Yeah, that's pretty much what we're trying to share here. And in regards to my wonky period, so it's very interesting. For me, it's always a combination of two, which is something that I've come to realize only recently. Because, for example, if I'm extremely stressed, I don't lose my period. But if I'm extremely stressed and for whatever reason I start eating less or I start moving more, that's when I lose my period. So it's only a combination of two things at the same time, which is very true for the majority of the women suffering from hypothalamic amenorrhea. To me, it's when I travel. back to my home country. And I think that the reasons being because I go back to my old identity. I go back to maybe sleeping in the same room that I used to sleep when I had my eating disorder. And subconsciously, I think that I start implementing changes that are completely against my values, completely against what I truly stand for. The last time that it happened was 4 years ago, so I've grown tremendously since then. But I do remember that I travel, and for all the women listening to us, traveling it can really mess up your hormones. New time zone, new country, new water, new parasites, new bacteria, new foods, more movement possibly, or less movement. Who knows? But just traveling can mess up your periods and can make it longer or shorter, depending on the person that you are and how sensitive you are to changes. But for me, it was more about sustained missing periods, meaning that I lost my period when I traveled back, and I know exactly why. And it took me 3 months to get it back. I also knew what I needed to do to get it back, but I was going through a breakthrough. I was going through a breakthrough that allowed me to shed my last fears in terms of my past eating disorder. It was a moment where I faced all my beliefs and all my habits in regards to exercise and food, and I never looked back. And I think that that's the moment where I possibly started to considering myself properly recovered.
And
And yeah,
thank you for sharing that, because I have to shine light on one, how you highlighted the growth that's happened over time, because it's almost like women feel like they get their period back and they're done.
oh,
And it's not true. There's so many more layers to it. And I say that in a very positive way, because if we're continuing to have breakthroughs, it just means our life continues to get better and better. We want to have these breakthroughs. Like,
yeah,
it's so, so important. And you going back home, as you said, you could identify, wow, I'm playing out past Claudia here. I
yeah.
can see it. But past Claudia couldn't see it. Past Claudia was surviving.
Past
So
Claudia was stuck.
so it was so powerful that you could go back and be like, hold on, wow, this is her. Part of her is still here,
Mhm.
but I can set her free.
That's when I started journaling, and I haven't given up on journaling. It's just my practice. It's a practice that I resisted for such a long time, and then now it's mine to fully embrace, and it has allowed me tremendous growth over the past few months and years. And I know that it's not for everyone, and some people really resist journaling and they hate it. It's okay. We all have our practice to go back to. But now, Jade, shall we also answer some questions that have come through Instagram?
Yes, I'd love to.
Yeah. So the first one that we receive is, do you have lost your period since getting your period back? I think that we have just spent the past 20 minutes really addressing these questions, but the reality is that yes, both of us has lost it because of pregnancy and breastfeeding, and also because we had some extra growth to go
Yeah.
through.
Yeah. And knowing that there's pattern seeking is key, right? If you're
Mhm.
getting more wonky, because I think wonky is a bit more playful. That's why I don't want to call it irregular or abnormal, because we get that. It's just a bit wonky. It's all right. We can work with it. But as for the breastfeeding, especially with Ruben, second time round, I didn't even think about getting my period back while I was breastfeeding, because I
Yeah.
just knew my body didn't do it with Casima. So I wasn't like, oh my God, am I eating enough? Am I not doing this? I was just like, you know what? I know I'm eating well. I know I'm training well. It's okay. So that could be fuel for thought for anyone who is breastfeeding right now. If you're being very honest with yourself and going, I'm eating well, I'm moving well, I'm looking after my body the way I should, and your period's not there, well, there's good reason for it not to be there at this stage.
Absolutely. And also for women that are breastfeeding and they know that they're stuck in patterns that are unresourceful, I will still invite them to start the recovery journey while
Yes,
breastfeeding. So when you stop
absolutely.
breastfeeding, magic is going to unfold.
Yeah.
Now, second question, I really would like your opinion on this one. Not sure what more to do. I stopped exercise. I gained 20 pounds, which is, I don't know, 5 kilos, I suppose. Uh, and I am 7 months into this. What would you answer to this woman? Cassidy, by the way. That's her name. Hello, Cassidy.
Hello, Cassidy. There's more variables to consider than just the eating more, moving less. So, as you know, Claudia, the meal timing plays a part, your sleep patterns play a part, your emotional stress plays a part, your what job you're doing, all these little things. So, I would say if your strategy is as little movement as possible, as much food as possible, there is room for a better strategy.
I agree with you wholeheartedly. Let's review your lifestyle diary. Let's review your blood work. Let's see what you're doing. When you say no training, does it mean that you're stuck at the couch, that you're not capable of walking? What's going on in your life? And normally, when I see someone that has been stuck in recovery for 7 months and there are no results, there is always reasons, and it's always very important to go back to the core foundations.
Yeah, especially not training when training normally makes you feel really good, and then you're already feeling really crappy because you've gained some weight. I mean, it's quite a self-destructive tornado. So often movement actually helps remedy those things. And super quick, it's very common for women to get stuck in this urgency to get their period back. So their strategy is eating more has to be the way. And there is absolutely a time and a place for it. There is a time and a place that you need to increase your nutrition to meet what your body needs, but that's not your only lever. We've got multiple levers. And you would have seen that too, Claudia. Women come to you and they're like, but I'm eating as much as I can. It's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. That's good that you're eating. We love that. But we've got to utilize the other levers.
Yes, yes to that. I'm just gonna stop here. Amen. Another really quick questions that came through that I really think that it's important to address is I have been in recovery for 2 months. I've seen some improvements, but my body is changes and I cannot cope with that. What would you say to this wonderful woman? Her name is Olivia.
Olivia, well, to Cassidy and Olivia, claps for one for embarking on this
Yay, well
journey. We
done.
should go back a
Done.
few steps because 7 months and 2 months. I mean, it's a tough
It's a
gig.
tough journey.
It's worth it. It's so worth it, but it's a tough gig, and good on you for stepping into it. In regards to the body changes, a small mindset shift that can be really helpful just for off the cuff right now, which is it's very easy for us to see body changes as failures. My tummy feels a bit more squishy, I failed. My thighs are touching, I failed. Because when we were trying to lose weight, the markers of success were a tighter tummy, smaller thighs, moving more. So now you flip the switch on it, and your mind hasn't caught up on what the new trophies are. So the markers of success or the trophies would now be, you know what, my tummy feels a little bit squishy. That's a good sign I'm nourishing. I've made some changes and my body's responding. My legs are touching and it makes me feel uncomfortable and I don't like it. But you know what? Just for now, I need that just so I can get my hormones back. So rather than feeling them, seeing them, touching them, and going, oh my God, this is just the worst thing ever, use them as a catalyst for future improvement. This is a good sign. This is progress. This is my hormones being able to kick into full swing because I'm actually doing what I need to do. So that's the short-term little mindset switch you could try. Bigger picture, zooming out, is these things that feel unpleasant right now, they absolutely do not last forever. And what's most important is you're practicing methods to make peace with them for now, also knowing that you don't have to stay here forever. So you get your period back, perhaps you have your babies, perhaps you dive into training a little bit more, whichever path you choose. Your HA recovery body is not your forever after body. And sometimes we can get stuck being like, I can't live like this. You don't have to. It's just a Band-Aid. Like that extra bit of body fat is the Band-Aid while the wound heals. We take the Band-Aid off when you're ready. It's okay.
And I always say gain fat now, so it's going to be so much easier for you to gain muscle later. So that you're starting from a place not of depletion, but of...
You know how good training is when you're in a surplus?
Mm.
You don't know until you know.
You don't know till you know.
And I mean, yeah.
Sorry. And we have too many things to say, like usual, Jade. But there is one exercise that I really would encourage women that are listening to this to do right now, and is to actually to write down the thing that they want the most. So, for example, what could it be for them? Getting the period back. Let's say that that's the things that they want the most for now. So write it down on a piece of paper and really focus on you having what you want the most. and just see how it feels in your body, which kind of emotion it brings up. And what could it be like them feeling feminine, energized, grateful, abundant, feeling accomplished, feeling happy, feeling joyful, feeling that you're ready to celebrate, go out for breakfast and share it with your friends, and so on and so forth. And from a place of love, I would encourage all of you that have just completed this exercise, which, by the way, takes more than a couple of minutes to do, but this is just a scaffolding, to ask yourself what's stopping you from feeling those feelings right now while you're working towards recovery. What's stopping you from feeling abundant, accomplished, and feminine, even now that your body has changed, that your identity has shifted, and that you're still waiting for your period. There could be beauty in every single part of our journey as long as we don't really white knuckle it the whole time.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. And if you're finding it difficult with just, say, the written side of things, one thing that can spark up some really good emotions is close your eyes and imagine just going to the bathroom, you wipe, and there's blood on the toilet paper.
Mm.
Like, how are you going to feel when you see blood? Which is such a funny sentence. 10 years ago, I would have been like, what are
Ew,
we talking about
yeah.
here? But now it's like, no, actually think about it. What are you going to see when you see blood? What's that going to feel like? You're going to feel so
Yeah.
proud of yourself. And we can't fast forward it. The half the reason it feels so good when it happens is because you work so bloody hard for it.
Yeah.
If you could just make it happen, it would be good because it's something you want, but it's not going to feel the way it's going to feel when it does happen.
When it arrives, it's going to be special and it's going to be at the right time. And I always tell everyone, trust the process. Your body is working with you, it's not working against you. Just get that into your beautiful, beautiful, beautiful mind. But anyway, I would like to thanks to all of you that has posted the questions. We're gonna address all the others in a future call. It has been a pleasure having you here, Jade. Thank you for your incredible wisdom. And I'm gonna obviously mention you in the comments and leave the links so that people can easily find you.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure. Can't wait for the next one.
I'll see you next time. Bye, Jade.